I'm Henrik Wenøe, the CEO and Master Trainer of Acuity World, and today I'm happy to welcome Claudia, one of our long-standing associated partners, to share some of her experiences and ideas in how she has been able to apply the satisfaction selling method and new NLP in her work with our clients. So welcome to this week's Personal Selling Weekly, and also welcome again to you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Today we will dive into one of, a topic that everyone knows is important, but despite that, at least in my experience, and I'm happy to also get your perspective today, people forget about it. It's like diet. Everyone know how they should eat, but then they forget about it.
Yes.
And again, of course, what you do with your personal life and your body, well, it's really up to you. But today we're going to focus on how can you actually start to behave so that it will be good for your business. Okay? Because maybe that's really important. So very often we say that to really be able to help a customer, you need to understand them. And to understand them, you need to ask questions instead of rushing to solutions. But how come that this doesn't happen naturally for salespeople in your experience? Because I guess that all of you know that please don't tell anything before you actually know what the customer wants to hear. Am I right? So how come it doesn't happen?
Yes. Habit. So much of what we work with is mental habit. And I think there's a number of factors at play here. In general, we have a strong preference for going into solution mode or problem-solving mode and just get on with it. There's an aspect of patience and impatience in that. And I find at least that often with driven leaders, patience can really be a challenge in that situation. Their brains maybe already know the answer or what.
So you say they're too patient or what?
Lack of patience is the issue. Yes, of course you have very patient people like me. So we've worked together for many years now.
I know.
So there's this a tendency to want to rush to solution because of lack of patience. It can also be simply familiarity. We've been so conditioned, many of us, to figure out what's the problem, go fix the problem, because then things are fine. Which is, of course, not true. So looking at the world from a different perspective, this rushing into solution mode is just a habit that gets in the way. There's something about feeling comfortable. And especially when it comes to what we're bringing to the market, so finding out what the customer really wants. We talk about desired state, most desired future. And that's not a usual business conversation. It doesn't happen that often that somebody asks you at work. So what do you really want? What is your dream? What's your desired future? So unfamiliarity and what we don't know just very easily feels uncomfortable. So there are a number of psychological factors that come into that rushing to familiar territory where you also, maybe to a different extent, have a sense of progress.
So with your experience, how can a person sitting here listening to us realizing that, yes, I'm also jumping to solutions too quickly? What would your advice be to them? So what is it that they can do so that they stay with the question a little longer than they would do naturally?
If you've ever been curious about something, like truly curious, you will recognize a state of curiosity. So what are you like when you're actually curious about hearing something or learning something? And cultivate that. Remind yourself to be curious and not just ask questions because you want a fast answer or the right answer. The right answer for the customer, but not just your answer. So staying curious and open and with that often slow down. And if you can find it in yourself, just be comfortable with the silence that we could mistake for so many things, like silence is, oh, the customer doesn't want to answer, or they don't know what to answer because it's a silly question, or whatever the stories are that we tell ourselves. But maybe invite that pause to be kind of what we could call a pregnant pause, a pause where things can work on the inside before something actually comes out of the mouth of the customer.
So basically, what you are saying is that if you can be comfortable with the silence, that can be a great help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else you would advise people to be curious or conscious about, which could help them become more curious, besides really enjoying the pause, the silence?
I think very many things, of course, start in our preparation. So first, am I set up so that I can be comfortable in a situation that maybe feels a bit awkward also for the other person. And the other thing is, what's my intention actually with this meeting? So what I'm asking now, is that an important question for helping the customer move in direction of what they want? Or is it a different kind of silence? So to be aware of that. What are some of the things that we don't know or we haven't talked about yet that are actually important to uncover before we can meaningfully move on in the conversation? Because that will bring a different sense of, I was going to say, necessity and even urgency in understanding this. And if you have that urgency, that actually just tells you to slow down and wait for that to appear, because it's important.
Okay. So in a way, if you could prepare so that you actually know what you would like to know, which you don't know yet, then you will be able to always calibrate up against that.
Yes.
And as long as there's something you know you don't know, it's more easy to be curious and therefore also embrace the pauses and the silence.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And I think we also fundamentally look at pauses in a way that's not helping us. So a bit of reprogramming maybe on our own beliefs, because pauses, we need pauses to reflect, especially when we go into questions that are not usual, that are maybe personal in a way. Like, why is this important to you? And to get beyond that surface answer and give time for the real answer, or the answer behind the first answer, to surface, will enrich the conversation. So to look at the pause as something, I was even going to say, when you sense a pause, this is where you need to become really curious and excited about the conversation, because you're very likely approaching something that is significant for the other person.
Yeah. I sometimes talk about this as the person have to go to the hard disk, because what you ask them is not on the RAM. And I think I also often see that as a marker of quality.
Yes. Yeah,
because now they will start to, even though they have to work a little harder, they will get to something that's a little deeper. And when that has surfaced, I think even they will perceive quality in the conversation.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, what do you want? Why do you want it? Because often, at least in my experience, when I go in to sell something to somebody, they also have to sell it to somebody in their organization. And the better they know what they want and why they want it, the easier it will be for them to not only buy it from me, but also sell it to the stakeholders which surround them in their organization. When you look back in your own career over the last 20 years where you have played with this, can you give an example of a meeting you have had with a person? It could be a sales call or a coaching session where the pause made all the difference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've had to learn pauses myself. so that the many situations actually where this has come up as and in a training room, I think that this was really beautiful. It's So we're in this training room in Berlin, last year. And so the country manager, let's call him Roger, is in the room, and his team of like maybe 20 people. And because of the way we do training, which is not role play, but real life situations, we very often get into real business conversations, which of course enriches the experience. And it's also not always exactly what we wanted to be practicing in the training, but so they're in a business conversation about business development here, and it makes a lot of sense. And at the body language and also the tonality from Rod, we just hear he was building up some energy. He was frustrated. It was not positive energy. He was building up. And all of a sudden he just says very loudly to the entire group like that, I don't get it. So this is a development initiative. We've been talking about it so many times. Why don't you just go and implement it? And of course the room goes silent, like, ooh. And so we managed to stay with a short silence there. And then I prolonged the space, you could say, for him by asking, why are you asking that question now? What is the question you're really asking behind that question? And luckily everybody just remained silent, but in a respectful way. And he actually managed to find his way into that silent space, because this was a revelation for himself. It was like somebody holding up a mirror. And he came up with a completely different answer than he would have on a surface level. And after a pause, and with a different tonality, his presence in the room, it shifted. And that, of course, affected, I say of course, but it did affect everybody in the room. They saw him differently. And the quality of his tonality, but also the words he was choosing, was at a level where they went from the sort of the shouting mode, why haven't you fixed this, into dialogue about it. And of course, when something happens in a room, and this is a team that is supposed to, do business development and do great things together, that was significant. And you could also say they come closer in a moment like that. Yeah. If you have a number of moments like that, you're knitting your team also. It was just really beautiful. He was one brave man in the middle of all his frustration, and a good room to do it in. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So today we are focusing in on questions and how to do good questions. So what is the question I haven't asked you that you had most hope for?
Why are you asking me that question now, Henrik?
Why do you think that?
Yes, right. It's we really, when it comes to asking good questions, I think we do this exercise. And I won't do the spoiler, of course, but are you good at asking open questions? Yes. Are you good at listening to the answer to ask follow-up questions that actually fit? Yes. And then we check it in exercises, and the case is not really, not that great, not always. So it's there's this propensity, like we were just playing around now, to, when you get a question, you answer it, of course. That's just the polite or the natural thing to be doing. Instead of stopping and saying, what's actually the quality of that question? What's the person really asking? And that in itself has such big impact on the quality of the dialogue that we can have. So I would think the investment into that, to actually take a moment and to really hear what was she asking, and then answer that, or ask whether there would be a different way of asking the same question, so that you get into what this is really about. Yeah. That would be effective, that would be progress, that would be creative, to an extent that we don't normally see in the business place.
I really agree with you, because I think being able to actually hear what you're asking, actually, not just, but really hearing and understanding the mental effect of the question you're asking, and where that would take the person you're asking the question, and if that's actually where you want to bring them. I think that's an art form. Yes. And when you master that, you can really create a very different level of value in your meetings. So I hope today, again, you have got some inspiration. And again, of course, in a 10-15 minutes conversation, we cannot give you everything about questions. But I hope at least you have got at least some inspirations, some small knowledge you can start to play with in your next meeting. See you again next week in the next Personal Selling Weekly.